How about this for peaceful? Say hello, cat.
Hello, cat.
So we're outside of Peterborough today, and although it's Tales from the Riverbank, there isn't a river around here. This is Holme Fen, H-O-L-M-E, Holme Fen. I think it's the lowest area in the UK. God knows how many metres below sea level. But it's basically made of peat. But the extraction of the peat, the land is getting lower and lower. Anyway, another story. What never ceased to amaze me was how some people were so close to death, yet by some miracle got away with it. We were on night shift and we got sent to the A1 southbound, and normally when you see information come up on the computer, it will say something like car versus pedestrian or car versus wall. So basically the vehicle or the person and what it's been combined with to create a catastrophe. And the one that sticks out for me is car versus 2 times lorry. So straight away we're thinking, whoever's been in that car will be in a million bits. Never going to get away with this. And to our surprise, when we arrived on scene, the person in the vehicle, or the person who was in the vehicle, had damaged a finger. A finger. And what had happened is this person had, let's say, got distracted in lane 2, the outside lane. They don't call them fast lanes and slow lanes. So in lane 2, drifted right into the central reservation, hit the central reservation, come back onto lane 2, sideways on lane 1, and then was struck by lorry number 1, T-boned, and then T-boned into the back of a stationary lorry in a lay-by. When you've been alive for so long and you've got an interest in cars, you can recognise specific cars when they pass you. Maybe not the model, but you know it's a Ford, you know it's a Vauxhall, that kind of thing. And when we arrived on scene, I had no idea what kind of car this was. All 4 tyres were blown out. Every single panel and every single window was gone. It was destroyed. Sunroof had lifted off, that had gone, and the engine had been torn out, and we'd no idea where the engine was. Lorry driver was fine, stationary lorry was fine, and we just couldn't establish what kind of car that was smashed to pieces. We checked on the driver of the car, and she required hospital attention, shall we say, even though she had a poorly finger. But because of the nature of the accident and the forces involved on the human body, she had to be checked out. She then said, while she was strapped down to what we call a scoop stretcher, "Can you take my phone and video my car?" So I videoed her car, and then she put it straight on Facebook while she was on her way to hospital. Very, very lucky, and got away with that. Bodily fluids. Have I been covered in them? Yep, all of them. Picture the scene. Brand new green young boy youngish. Day 1, job 1, and the patient vomited. And this patient was laid on his back, and clearly vomiting on your back is really bad, and he was strapped to a scoop, so we had to turn him. The vomit went up the side door of the ambulance, across the ceiling, and from my badge to my boots. And my dry as a bone crewmate just said, "Welcome to the ambulance service." Yeah. I've knelt in blood, I've mopped blood up, I've had to clean patients up, shall we say. And I recall an event where we had a gentleman going to hospital, and he says, "Can I go to the toilet before I go?" But he was very unstable on his feet, so my colleague helped him to the toilet. And for those men out there, it was a standing up time to go to the toilet, not a sitting down. And when he came back, my colleague says, "Can he just pull his trousers up and just fasten his Velcro shoes while I support him?" I thought, that's easy. So I fastened his Velcro shoes, and while I was fastening them, the patient then realised that he hadn't actually finished. So he finished all over my arms. It's always before dinner time, just when you're about to grab a sandwich. Oh well. Bodily fluid again. In the 10 years I worked for the ambulance service, I only had to deliver one baby. Whereas colleagues of mine, every time they turned up for work, they had to deliver a baby. So picture the scene. I was at the working end of this young lady. She was in labour, contractions were very close, baby was coming. I was hiding behind one thigh, and my paramedic colleague was hiding behind the other thigh, and I was whispering to him, "How many babies have you delivered?" I did not want him to say, "This is my first one," but he did, and it was. So then the young lady opened her legs, says, "What are you two whispering about?" I said, "Nothing, nothing, absolutely fine, just waiting for baby to appear." Shortly after that, baby's head started crowning, so we're thinking, this is it. The midwives were on the way, or as we used to call them, madwives. But you always wanted a midwife with you when you were a baby. Oh, absolutely, every time. And then eventually all of baby came out, and I picked baby up, started giving baby a wipe down, and then one of the things you've got to do is put baby with mother skin to skin to start the bonding process. And in our mat pack, maternity pack, was a little hat, and I couldn't find it, so I asked Dad, who was hiding, "Can I have a hat?" So he gave me this knitted woolen hat, and I tried to put it on baby's head, and this thing just jumped off the head and dropped in all the goo, shall we say. And when I picked it out of the goo, it was a proper mess, to which Mum said, "That's not a hat, that's a mitten." Well, it wasn't my fault. So we got a hat eventually and put it on baby. Then the madwives appeared, and they put a drug into the thigh of Mum called syntometrin, and it's to stimulate the placenta Ooh, a train. So to stimulate the placenta to come out. And as I was a student at that time, I was just fascinated by things like this. And the midwife turned up and said, would you like to inspect the placenta with me to see if it's all there? And this is my first placenta, I don't know what I'm looking for. And she says, well, pick it up and turn it over and turn it round, because we need to ensure that everything is out of mum. We can't leave anything behind. Okie doke. So the first words out of my mouth, professionally of course, were, oh, this is warm. No. Anyway, we checked the placenta over. I did 0.1% of checking, the midwife did the rest, and it was all there. Then we had to check on mum. Standard things, blood pressure, oxygen, heart rate. My goodness, another train. Come on. It's a noisy old place, this. So I went from the working end to the talking end. And what I didn't realise was this lady was naked. So she was on display, shall we say. So I apologised profusely. I said, look, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I'll get... She says, you spent half an hour between my legs. Why are you going to be embarrassed about seeing my boobs? Only a young girl, but she was awesome. Hardly any entonox. And a lovely baby delivered. Baby number 1 in 10 years. And that's fine with me. Well, it's not so much a riverbank, it's more of a ditch. Very slimy green ditch, but really quite peaceful. So here we are again. Night shift. We were in a DSA, double staffed ambulance, and we were backing a colleague up who needed some assistance, and he was in an RRV, rapid response vehicle. That's right, keep up. Now, under normal circumstances, when you are with a patient, you're within touching distance. You get down to eye level, and then you speak to them in a normal manner, make them feel safe and confident in your skills. But this particular night, the RRV driver was behind a settee, at least 10 feet away. So I'm thinking to myself, it's a bit rude. So I started to walk past the paramedic to be with a patient, and he grabbed me and pulled me back behind the settee. And I says, what's wrong with you, mate? He says, just look on the floor in front of the guy where he's seated. And there were 3 huge samurai swords. Woo! Yeah, I think we need some police backup here. Now, he wasn't volatile, he wasn't violent, he wasn't angry. But the fact that he's got 3 samurai swords at his feet, that's enough for me. I'm staying 10 feet away and behind a settee. Fun days. I do recall a time when we needed police backup. It was the second time I'd been assaulted, and I actually got punched in the back. So my paramedic colleague says, that's enough, we're off. So we went outside, got inside the DSA, yes, double staffed ambulance, and we called for police backup. Now, we explained that this person was violent towards the emergency services. We needed some support, and quick as a flash, a lady police officer turned up. She was the nearest available resource, and it soon became apparent that she needed some backup like we needed some backup. The patient had come out of the house and was trying to get into the ambulance, so we locked ourselves in, and within 3 or 4 minutes a huge police car turned up. We're talking BMW X5 type of vehicle, and 2 massive armed police came out. And like I said on the earlier video, they talked this guy down, spoke to him civilly, and he just calmed down, and then we could get out the ambulance again. But top notch to the lady for getting some backup, top notch for these guys to turn up with some big guns. You feel safe when you're behind a big gun. So this post, the top of this post was the ground level in 1850, and then this post, Cat's going to demonstrate by getting up alongside it. You might not be able to see the date, but that's 1848 right at the top. That was ground level 1848. 1860, 1870, 75, 1892,
and this has been raised on a plinth.
And that's been raised on a plinth. So the lowest point in England. Yeah, I'm still above water though. Glug, 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 glug. Bit of a history lesson here. One of the original charcoal burners. Certainly not working at the moment. So peaceful here. Really, really peaceful. Apart from Cat clicking a camera and spoiling the noise. Or spoiling the silence, should I say.